I'm for rocket penguins, but also I've noticed that there are giant penguins in the water here. So what's going on with that? I'm gonna need some answers to that as well at some point. But for now, we're getting into Liftoff, where we're gonna be learning about rockets. Starting with this already classic level where you get to try it out. So yes, a rocket will launch us if we hit anything, including walls. So in this case, the penguin does not want a rocket, but the walrus absolutely does. And that's the basics about rockets. But of course, with this game, every mechanic can go so many other ways. We've got few other walruses in this level selection, so the next one takes us to Frenzy. Lots of penguins, lots of rockets. A couple of those penguins have walking canes, so it might be something that we want to use and not have replaced with a rocket. And we only need the blue guy to get into his exit, so I assume everyone else is only here to get those rockets out the way. Someone definitely needs to clean up the rocket from the middle, but we can do that by having the green guy and yellow guy, and then the red guy is also here walking around, because then he can stand here and the blue guy can get to his exit. And after that, we can go to Propulsion to free the red walrus as well. So here we've got some penguins and some rockets, but the penguins don't actually need to go anywhere to end with. They're only here to get those walruses out into the water. So, sending him towards the walrus didn't cause the walrus to go out, but it caused the other penguin to go out because the blast from the rocket behind you will push others like this. So we just have to find the right configuration to get those walruses out. So the red guy can get this walrus pushed, and now does him getting pushed into the other penguin mean he will get launched as well? Yes, because that's generally how pushing works. Yes, a prepared animal will be launched if it cannot reach the next tile. So that's very standard with any other pushing we have seen. And now the blue penguin can push the green penguin towards this walrus, but I think the push is only one tile, so that's not enough to get him out. But we have learned a couple tricks, so that's the important part. And now we can solve this for real. So I think, yes, we use the blue penguin to push the green penguin, but instead the green penguin goes down so that the yellow penguin can get this walrus out, and the red penguin gets the bottom one out. So we can send the red walrus up here, and the yellow can go Prune. Again, level full of rockets. The yellow penguin is here just to assist, I assume, in clearing the rockets out so that the red and green can get to their places. Particularly green, because red is fine here, but green needs a clean entry. If we can get the yellow penguin up here, he can shave off this whole row of rockets. But before we do that, we still have to get everyone else to where they need to be. So now everyone's in position, because we can move the yellow to here. He goes, picks up all the rockets. Red can go where he needs to go, and then green can bounce off. And we're done with Prune. To get to those level under the rockets, we have to sacrifice someone here first, and then someone else can step on it. And here we have UU, so another one of those 2 letters, uppercases of a word for our collection. And in UU, we need to get a gray penguin onto a gray square and the walrus out of here. Now, the way I think it's going to work is we're gonna use the rocket to push the gray penguin backwards while we jump out of the level. But we also have a spring and a hammer, either for use or just to mess with us. Because picking up this spring means we obviously get a little bit more stuck around here, but we can do stuff like this. And then from here, we can pick up the rocket and it does not immediately fire. So now if we go towards the wall, we push the penguin and the walrus is out. And that's Yu. Now if we go down from here, we're gonna launch our walrus out, but we can use the blue one to clear this rocket. And then discard is our next level. So we've got a rocket penguin and we've got a bomb, but actually we want all the penguins to stay here. They all need to go to their exit. So I think the story here is that we want to pick up the bomb to stop the rocket from getting this penguin out of the level. But to do that, we need to also get someone to break this breakable wall, because if the red penguin hit it, as we saw, it causes him to leave the level completely. So the way we can do that is get those two penguins swapped, because then one can go to the top, one can go in here, and then he can just peck at this wall and get out of the way. Yeah, the interesting problem we have is the green penguin has to go there, and he can't go there by himself because he will just slide off. But we have the rocket, so if we're smart about it, the rocket will just push him into this place, and then this penguin with a bomb can just slide in, and we're done with discard. We can send the red guy up here into deflection. We've got a bunch of tools, but most of them will get us stuck, right? If we go up there, pick up the cane, stuck. If we go down here, pick up the hammer, stuck. If we go here, pick up the spring, stuck, and this way for the bomb, also stuck, which means all of those things are just here to confuse us and get in the way, basically, just to make our lives complicated. We have one spring we can get, and it's this one, and we can bring it here. I think it's gonna be the walrus that needs the spring, because obviously he needs it to infinite loop and get out of here. Well, let's figure out how to get the penguin where he needs to be to get out of here. Because actually, if we do this, this is where the walrus, I think, needs to be for the penguin to be able to make it to his exit. But we may need more steps for that. We may need to have him wait here for now, so the penguin can go here. Then the walrus bounces back, because now the penguin can go here. But then there is no infinite loop possibility. Can we bounce back and pick up this rocket? And from here, instead of going to any of the trap items, we can go up, and deflection is complete. From here, we can get to ejection. One walrus is strapped to a rocket, two with no rockets, and a penguin that could potentially get a mallet, but he would be stuck in there. So that does not sound particularly helpful. This might be some sort of play with the rocket propulsion, because if we get this guy back here stuck and he uses his rocket, free the stuck animal using a rocket, it is most likely that we need the yellow penguin to be over there with the rocket. So we need to shuffle our animals about. Does the penguin need to go to the rocket directly? No, he needs to get pushed into it, because otherwise we're activating the other rule that just causes them to continue with the rocket. So if we get him up here, then the red guy goes here, and we push the penguin like that. Then he can just push the walruses out of the level with his very powerful rocket. we can get aligned with this middle line. It's interesting because for this middle line going this way, everyone will get stuck here because there's a blue gate, which means only the blue walrus could go through, but the blue walrus cannot move anywhere without just launching himself out. So I wonder how that's going to go. But yes, we can use that walrus to now get into Defusal. We've got more rockets, we've got canes. Now, I assume because all the 3 penguins have to stay here, we're gonna need to get the rocket from the yellow circle and then basically go on to another item, which I assume is gonna be the bomb. We can't go from where the rocket is to where the cane is, but we can go to the cane, then walk around, get the rocket, and then yes, immediately into the teleporter and into the bomb. This one feels like it would go a whole lot better if the green penguin could have the cane, because the way you exit from that teleporter makes him the best candidate to be there left last. But if we do this, then the red penguin's out of the way, the green guy can get the cane and get himself situated. So now we have to swap the red and the yellow, because yeah, we don't want this to happen. So I think the green guy is here to still help out more before we get anywhere else with this. He can help them go here like this, because it feels also that the yellow wants to actually come from the bottom of the teleporter when the coast is clear. So if we put him there, then the green guy can go here. Red goes to his exit. Green then launches himself for the rocket. He can arrive here, and yellow pops in, and defusal is complete. We've actually defused the rocket instead of defusing the bomb. There's one more for the yellow walrus to get to as well here, so we get countdown. Lots of canes again, rockets. So with the rockets, the walruses could just fly out of here and be free, but the canes are actually causing us a problem. So one of them basically has to set off to clear the canes. If we use the green guys to pick up the cane, he can go all the way clean out the bottom here. He does get stuck, but if we use the rocket now, he's out, and this guy is free with a cane. If we just get the red guy up here, once again we can use the rocket pushback to get this sorted. For those middle levels, if we clear off this rocket here, then we can have a walrus come here to rubber. So we've got to get those 2 penguins into their exits, and that walrus just needs to get out. He has a rocket now, but there's also plenty holes for him to do. The only thing we have to watch out for is he doesn't get stuck, which, again, going towards any of those tools that we have on the map is getting stuck. So right now, we don't want to really move him. We just want to use him to help our penguins out somehow. I guess the green penguin will have to come from the bottom in order to get to his exit. So if we do this, at least he's out, and then the yellow penguin can be here. But yes, that still doesn't get the walrus out unless we have a penguin here, and then he just trips over him. And then they're both just travel to their exits. There we go. Now this is, I think, where level select gets hard, because those levels in the middle are not exactly easy to reach. And then he can stop here on balance. We've got a penguin with a hammer, but if he moves, he will get a rocket. But without there being an obstacle, the rocket doesn't even do anything, right? You just go straight in the water. We've got this blue guy here that could just go to his exit, but the walrus could exit and the penguin could be like, and the red guy is like, hey, what about me? Because he's actually the only problematic guy here, and it will force everyone else to do work in order to help him. So We can put someone here to block him. And I think that something interesting happened there is that it pushed back the red penguin as he was getting blasted off, which is different from them just picking up the rocket on the way and it's not yet activated. So I think it's the walrus that wants to get in the red penguin's way. But I think to achieve that swap, we want to not make a hole in the floor because that hole is only usable once, and of course we needed to get the blue penguin here. Because now if we do this, yes, he pushes the walrus out and the walrus pushes him back into his exit. So that's balance, and then we have this other level here that we need to clean up some rockets to get into. We send this guy out. We can align those two here, so one does the rocket, one stands in the way, and then we can get into Extinction. And in Extinction, we gotta shove a bunch of walruses out, but still end up in a circle. So that's similar to some previous levels we had, but now we have added rockets and storms to get stuck into. I assume there will be some importance to, yes, this rule. Hammer hitting rocket will be propelled. I've noticed that in the previous level, but it didn't set off the journal. I was like, oh, I guess that's not something to write. They just account for it in the bit that it will start on impact and count the hammer's impact. But no, apparently it is a separate rule that didn't trigger in that other level. So we're probably looking at something like if there's a walrus in the store, but we push him into a rocket, yes, then we can get ourselves out of there. But this feels like this will be our very last move. If we start here, we can get those two, but I don't think we want to continue at the bottom. We want to clean the top out next, and then, yes, spiral back around and get pushed into our exit, and Extinction is done. One more level here I think we can reach. If we just send the red here, the green can stop and final. We've got 3 walruses with rockets, so in theory they could send themselves out of the level, but the gray penguin stands on an exit F, and so if we touch any of the F buttons, the blue and the red walruses, they're okay to get out by themselves. It's only the yellow one that's stuck. But if we use our rocket propeller powers, we can have the blue walrus moved here, then the yellow walrus can hop over him, and the blue continues, and the final is done. That feels like one of the levels we were supposed to do early on, but whatever. Well, everything else is currently inaccessible, so instead we're just going to finish up this area, which we can do by lining the walruses up here. So when the blue exits, he sends another one away, and then those two guys can use the remaining rockets, and they're out. At some point when we figure out how to get the blue guy to not have the rocket on him, we're gonna come back, get those levels behind the blue barrier, and then yes, some sort of wall hopping exercise for that one that's completely inaccessible now. And we're clear on the Liftoff. Other level selection and transition is under this gray penguin wearing a mask. We've seen this before, don't know how to use it. It's not something we can trigger by just hitting them. And so I guess we're looking to complete this level selection as well. The green penguin, to get to his space, he can't just move into it. He has to be pushed, have the cane, like he can't get the cane because the 2 gray penguins will stop him. So I'm like, does the rocket propeller work through the walls? So if we have this guy teleporting down, yes, the propeller gets him even through the wall. Propelling works through walls. That's interesting. It's not what I would expect, but because of how the level is set up, I was like, I don't see what other options do I have in here. But I mean, we can't actually complete this level here because one of our walruses is stuck. We also start with a bomb, and we didn't use it for anything. So I'm wondering, again, with the bombs being so explodey, can we use it to jump over the wall to a level behind the wall? Because I've been trying for so long to achieve that. If I put the blue guy here, so I have a bit more room. Put this penguin at the bottom. Now, if this guy walks into him, okay, but so the walrus ends up going direction he was already traveling, but the penguin jumps to the left instead of to the right. But that means if we put the penguin... no, because I was like, oh, if the walrus ends up going the way he's walking... Oh, that worked. He made him hop, so he hopped over the wall but then landed on the ground. Launched animals will land after crossing a plain wall. Okay, so that's the rule. That's the rule that goes with this. After launching, they fly towards water, but if there's a wall on the way, they will just end up going down, even if there isn't water under them. I think, yes, the animal that causes the collision that then launches them both. In this case, at least, they kept going the direction they were going, right? The walrus is going to the right, and he hops to the right, but the other animal, I guess they might consistently fly a specific direction, I guess 90 degrees clockwise. We understand more now, but I'm not sure it's gonna solve access to all of those levels we were seeing along the way, because some of them we just don't have the same tools, right? So there's definitely more info or more tools or more something to get. But anyway, here we are to Path of Plane, and that is another level selection. It's not just a level, it's a level selection, and there is a level behind a wall, but here we don't have anything to prepare ourselves with, so we would have to, again, bring something here. Obviously, we know that it's a mechanic where you can do so if you find a rainbow portal. We could bring someone that has some tools, but that would be someone in one of those levels. And so here we can stack. Well, this looks like a basic level, except I assume, yes, there's gonna be great pain and difficulty in getting our penguins to stop where they need to be, because we can get them into their endpoints individually, but much harder to do both at once, which, I mean, isn't that this game? It's hard to do. Well, I think what we need to do is eventually this blue penguin will need to be directly under the blue exit and to the left of the red exit. But in order for him to stop there, we need the red penguin to be in the way. So then when he travels around, he stops in this exit, and then the blue penguin stops in this exit. So it's just a little bit more of the complicated cyclical stacking. If we go the other way, we go to Leapfrog. Also, interestingly, I wonder if there even are tools here, or are we just doing some special, here's the basics again, with no tools, and yet we made everything harder. So in this one, we will basically be moving the animals about so that they can slowly shuffle them sideways to the right of the screen. So now the yellow penguin is just about to be able to exit, but first the walrus needs out, and then the penguin can finish. Next we can get into alignment. Again, just two penguins, no tools, and yet everything will be hard, because they are basically in their opposite desired slots to get to exits. So if we have the blue guy go around, he can help to block things, but obviously this is not very helpful because it gets him back to where he came from. But we need to get the green guy into that alignment instead. So the blue guy will have to basically travel around, get here. Then if we swap them like this, the green guy is now aligned to go to his exit. But first he needs to take a little detour. He will get this guy into here. But few more steps to, yes, they're basically now have swapped their start positions and they're out to their exits to complete the alignment, and we're into contention. So working backwards through this, I think we basically have to get the yellow penguin into his endpoint in order for the red penguin to be able to get there. But for then the red penguin to not get stuck, he needs to not end up under the yellow penguin or anything like that. He needs to be on the right side here, because then when he goes through this path here, he can approach from the top, and they're both done, and we've resolved this contention. So now if we stack them all on the side, we can get into locked in. Once again, back to basics. We get to slide them around, and he can get in here, but then we need to get the red guy out. And this feels like, once again, we have to do some sort of swap in order to get the blue guy to help the red guy. Yeah, if the blue guy could stop here and then the red guy stops underneath him, that would let them both get resolved. But obviously that is not as simple to set up. So once again, I've managed to get into a reverse of what I want, because if they were reversed, then obviously this would finish the level. So I just need to deconstruct how did I get here, and we should be good. So I think first step will always be get the red penguin out so that he can actually travel around. But then we want to go around, stop here, so then the blue penguin is here and the red penguin goes around, stops here, and then blue goes around, and we're no longer locked in. From here we travel to Jailbreak. We've got two penguins and we have a walrus. I think the way the walrus is getting out of here is through this hole, because again, no tools can jump over. But before he's free to go, he will of course have to assist us in getting the penguins to where they want to be. So first thing to do is shuffle all our animals into the bottom half of the level. And then we're ready to start arranging them, I think. I think the walrus may need to end up in the middle here, so that he can help both of them to move into position. And yes, then we can just bring them both into their circles. And then the walrus can just pop out into this hole, and the jailbreak is complete. Continuing on, stacking our penguins. Locked out. We had locked in, and now we're locked out. More penguins swapping. Once again with this trick of if we get one penguin where it can obviously help the other penguin, then that one is then put on a path where he cannot complete his own journey. If I get them like this, the yellow can go here, the green can bounce off, and the yellow goes to his exit, and we've completed locked out. Here we get to Dyads. Now it's 3 penguins, all need to exit. And everything would be simple if it wasn't for this single-use wall over there, because that means we need to stack up the penguins in the top row, only traveling to the right once, because otherwise it's right in the bath. So in order to do this, I don't think we can bring all 3 penguins into this section, because once we do that, one of them can never get out of here without help, and therefore stacking them all 3 on this part also is not going to work, right? We can't bring the green out here by himself either. So I think there is more to do with the red penguin coming in and out of this blue exit, because if we do that, we can then pull him out and stop someone here, but that someone shouldn't be the blue penguin, because that needs to be a wall for him to then stop on. So I think we will need to swap the blue and the green like this, and then the green can come up here, form the wall. Red can leave to help the blue out to get out of there and up to the top section. Because now blue can go down here. From here, we've got to do some more swapping so that red can help the green end up in his slot. So if we put the red here, then he comes down, the green can stop, and then the red goes up to finish. And that's Dyads. So by going around in a circle like this, we can get to Vantage. The walls here sound a bit different when we hit them, but I don't presume it actually makes them much different. It's just a different visual and audio version. I don't think we can like crack them or anything like that. Once again, we have this issue where penguins can get stuck in the single paths that get them stuck in corners and things like that. So we have to avoid doing that. With blue being like ending against the wall, I assume he's gonna be the main one to help out yellow and then go to his own slot. So I think he has to somehow end up above the yellow end position, and then he will be able to get us to the end. Alternatively, he could stand here if the yellow could then approach from the right side. I know where I want the blue penguin to end up, but I think the yellow penguin will need multiple steps of help. So we have to start by going in here. And then we can create this situation where let's just change the path to this one taking us to the blue exit. But we want the blue penguin here, so we repeat this again. And now the yellow can go here, and now the blue penguin can unwind a bit to help the yellow penguin get to the exit, and then he returns, and we are done with Vantage. Now we gotta keep shifting our penguins around so that we can get to shuffle. As if we haven't been doing enough shuffling yet. Well, we've got 4 penguins, but only one of them needs to get to an exit. The rest of them have to form some sort of wall to allow him to move the way he needs to move. It's gonna be super easy to get into dead ends here where our only moves are just moving back and forth in a single line or just going in the water. We can create this pattern here where we shuffle the penguins one by one to move them all to the left side as a group. However, once we get to here, it becomes a problem because we can't go down anymore, and therefore only this penguin can be shuffled further to the left. And this bottom ones cannot do anymore because we can't go down. The alternative here is also that we can shuffle the yellow penguin upwards. and create this new formation, but it's still nowhere near where we need to be. So we need a mix of shuffling up and shuffling to the side to basically travel diagonally across the level and move the whole group towards the red circle where the red penguin wants to be, so that we can avoid getting stuck near the edges where we can't get those penguins sent out and move the whole group around. But from here, when we shuffle this yellow penguin up and then down, the red will stop in his exit and the shuffle is done. And from here we go into pivots and we will pivot, and now we're actually getting into having some sort of level effects, not just penguins, because now we have the storm. So this will be interesting because they have to stop in the required exit and then they will no longer be available to help the other penguins around. So we have to figure out the order this needs to happen in. So we move red here to block the yellow. We move the blue here to get ready. We move the green here to be ready. But then who gets the red into position? The green. So the yellow moves here. Red can go around, stop on green, finish here. Blue can move in and green can go. Actually, not too bad, this one. Of everything in this level select, that wasn't too bad. And from here, we're into Perilous. It is Perilous because there are edges and we have to be careful about them. From the first glance, it feels like the blue penguin has to go where the green penguin is so that he can independently move down into the exit. But we also need the walrus to go behind the green to be able to get in there. But obviously if we do just this, no one's there to help the poor blue guy out of his spot. And we only got a single use of that side wall, so have to make sure we use it smart. So we gotta get everyone out of that top row and especially out of that corner. We can use this wall, but only once. And then we need to shuffle our penguins around so we can stop them in the middle. Like this, we can get the blue penguin out, but that's not everything, because now the green needs to go down here, and from here we can use the blue to help him get to his place. Blue can return, and the walrus just outgoes through the wall we broke earlier. So that's Perilous. And that's the path of plane almost completely done, except for the fact that once again we got a level behind a wall and there is nothing here, right? No tools, no anything. How would you jump over a wall like that? So I think the last thing we got to do is just get the yellow penguin to the center, which probably also not going to be easy at all. And there we go. Takes just a little bit of winding them up around the level. So that's a success for getting in here. So now what we gotta do is also the complete transition. So I think it's gonna have to be one of the walruses that has the cane in order to do that. But before we do that, we need to put everyone else into position as well. And we're gonna be dealing with a penguin that has a bomb on it. So green guy's in position. Then if we do this, he goes over there. If we do this, the walrus is now stuck, but we can send the red guy in to launch him. And that's transition complete, and that brought us a rainbow, which means he will be able to get replaced. Or can he not get replaced because he's already been replaced? Because the blue penguin was one we brought from Inception. Okay, so I had to go back in and undo the fact that I just finished the level and then put an animal onto the rainbow, and that's the animal that's gonna come out of here. Because yes, we can export the blue walrus now, but that makes me wonder, can we switch that around, or is there a different version where we get like the yellow walrus or something? If the blue walrus launches himself and then the yellow walrus works in, yes. So we can pick who's coming, and then we don't even have to do it again if we want to change the animal. But then we can also put the yellow walrus into transition, and now it says, oh, the yellow walrus with a cane is now inside transition. So we've made 2 canes inside the same level, so now we can not only just take animals out, we can then bring them back in with the tools they have, which duplicates the tool that they've possibly previously taken with them, and that creates a whole new section. But yes, here if we have the blue walrus, we will be able to move forward to transplant and do some more levels that sound great, like hopeless. So that is going to be something to get into for another time, but yes, currently my mind is blown by those puzzles that we had to do in the Path of Plane that were basically like super basic puzzles, no tools, and yet everything was so hard. And then the fact that yes, we can move the animals up and down into puzzles, which is probably how we're gonna get all of those levels that were like, how would we possibly do this without any tool or that particular tool? We're gonna need to figure out what goes where. Like, I do wonder if I brought the walrus with the cane here and then I moved him onto this level. Okay, I cannot import him into there, so that we can't move them from a world to a world. It's only onto the world they came out of. Anyway, mind blown, and the possibilities are expanding right in front of us. And we will get into more of it next time. Let me know in the comments where you think this is going to go. How deep is this going to go? And if you enjoyed this, consider liking or subscribing. Thank you to channel members for supporting the channel, and I will see you soon on another adventure.